Well, if we're going to do this right, guess we should start with the classics. Nothing will ever fix traffic. Welcome to Not How That Works, a series which seeks to address commonly held misconceptions about urban planning. So, what better place to start than with one of the most fundamentally misunderstood forces in all of urban planning? We speak, of course, of induced demand is the basic idea that the more available something becomes, the cheaper it becomes, and thus the amount of it that is consumed will also increase. Put another way, the more of it you give, the more of it they will take. So, how does this apply to urban planning? Well, let's say you have a 4-lane road, which is the main route for people to get in and out of downtown, because it is the most direct and, in theory, fastest way to get there. However, because everyone is taking this road, it easily and frequently gets filled up with traffic. People may choose to stay in the traffic, adjusting their travel time and planning accordingly, or they might take less direct alternative routes because they know that these streets are less likely to be congested at certain times. They figure 15 more minutes of actively driving is better than 30 minutes or more stuck in standstill traffic. But this still leaves thousands of vehicles stuck in traffic, and nobody likes traffic. Well, a few people might, but they're weird. Anyway, since most people hate traffic, they demand that the government do something to relieve said traffic. All too often, people think that this means adding more lanes. In very rough theory, this makes sense. After all, adding more lanes will increase the capacity of the road, so the same number of cars will be able to move more freely and quickly on this road and thus lessen congestion. This, on paper, makes sense, until you realize it's not looking at the whole picture. Remember, the people on the road stuck in traffic are not all the people who might want to be taking that road to their destination. They are just all the people who are currently doing so. In economic terms, total potential demand had not been met. It was just that the total available supply had been exhausted. So, while adding more lanes will relieve traffic for an extremely short period of time, news of this relief is going to spread. And when it does, drivers who are taking the alternative routes will start to switch over to the newly uncongested, more direct route. After all, now they can save those 15 minutes because the traffic isn't going to cost them the additional 30. As this occurs, the newly added capacity on the road is filled, and congestion soon returns to the now wider road. Some people will return to the alternative routes, but the new equilibrium has been set, as the total potential demand has likely not been met still, but all that new supply has been consumed. But, we hear some traffic engineers say, what if we just added another lane? Eventually, the capacity would have to exceed demand, right?
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. You can keep on adding lanes, but there has yet to be an example where a road was widened enough to fix traffic for more than a few years. At best, any semblance of congestion relief is gone within a decade. If you increase road capacity 10%, you're going to see a 10% or greater increase in the amount of people driving. This, for example, is the Katy Freeway in Houston, Texas. It has 26 lanes, and it is regularly congested. In fact, studies have found that congestion on the freeway may actually have gotten worse year over year as the number of lanes increased. Put another way,
If you build it, you will come.
In fact, there are studies which indicate that a road actually becomes less useful the wider it gets, as they become harder to use. This is because you need to cross more lanes to reach exits, which can sometimes create slowdowns, congestion, and increase the danger of just using the road. Now, mathematically speaking, there is a theoretical point where you could have enough lanes that traffic would never return. But by that point, the road would be so wide that it would have obliterated the city around it completely, negating the very purpose of its existence. So yeah, that's it. You can't ever fix traffic by adding another lane.
U2, U3, U4.
Wait, what's going on?
What happened?
Where'd the green go? Why does the traffic get worse?
Have you heard of the Jevons Paradox?
I'm hoping they're a death metal band.
It basically states that the better you make something like a road, the more people will use it.
But we hear our fellow urbanists thinking triumphantly. If we build out more infrastructure for transit, bikes, and pedestrians, that surely will solve traffic because it takes cars off the road. Except, no, that's not going to eliminate traffic either. It just helps to better manage it. Induced demand might as well be a law of physics. It cares not from where the supply comes, it will be consumed. So, if you create available road capacity by getting people to take alternatives to driving, inevitably, enough people are going to switch back to driving so that traffic will return. Yes, it will be less intense. The duration and the height of the peak levels of congestion will be lower, but traffic will return. Look all over the world and you'll see cities with great transit systems. Tokyo, Seoul, London, Paris, New York, all still have some of the worst traffic in the world. But this doesn't mean providing people with alternatives to driving is a waste, far from it. While traffic remains, a greater number of people are able to move without worrying about said traffic. This lessens the greater societal impact which traffic has on our world. By all means, we need to build transit and bike and pedestrian infrastructure, but we need to approach each mode as its own means of moving people, not as supplements to cars. Doing so can have a lot of problems, but that's a topic for another video. Thank you all so much for joining us. We have a lot more projects coming soon, so be sure to subscribe and hit the bell to stay notified. Let us know in the comments what urban planning misconceptions you'd like us to take a look at in the future. And thank you. See you next time.